all paths lead you to me. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day. You're probably asking who this Jamie Poole is. I'm not so different from you, just a kid trying to find her way. I'm neither pretty nor ugly. I'm not rich. I grew up in Alexandria, Indiana, part of a close family, minus a dad who disappeared when I was 6 months old. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table and clothes on my back. I met Dad when I was 12. My dad is a complicated, secretive man. How does writing call to me differently than other forms of art? I've always been an artist, so I've always enjoyed telling a story through artwork. And I found that when I used words, then I could tell a bigger story than I could maybe in a storyboard for like a comic strip or for a single painting. So I found it a freedom to kind of express myself through words in the mindset of various characters in various ways, and I could put myself as a character either as a good guy or a bad guy or just a character having the opportunity to kind of spill their guts in words and share with the audience those thoughts. Jamie Poole is a 12-year-old girl who grows up in Alexandria, Indiana. Alexandria is a very small town. It's actually a real town in Indiana, and she finds the place very stifling because it's so small. And she has a dream to be an archaeologist and to leave the town and go on an adventure. At the same time, she has no idea what that means. Being 12, almost 13, she's also about to come into herself as an adult and try to figure out who and what she wants to be as an adult. And so this is a prime time for her to then be exposed to the elements that become in the story an adventure series. She finds a mysterious object at the fair, which is intended to be a very unusual place to find something that is so significant that takes her on an adventure that takes me 11 books to basically tell. The first time I wrote this book, I was in university. Jamie was a boy and her name was Ben. I started writing the Jamie Poole series unbeknownst to me when I was in university. It was a short story project and it was called Ben and the Dragon. Jamie was Ben. I decided I was going to do an experiment, much like some authors who began careers in other fields decided to do, and as an experiment write a book. I took the Ben and the Dragon short story and I looked at it and I said, I don't feel comfortable in really being able to tell the story from a male perspective because I really wasn't comfortable at that point writing a story dominantly from a male perspective. So I changed the Ben character to Jamie. Jamie needed to have a sidekick, so she had her female cousin join her. And so the book launches with Jamie and her cousin on this adventure. I was only going to write one book, and that quickly said no, because Jamie said, I have a lot more I need to say, and so we have now planned an 11-book arc for this, with some short stories as well. There is so much that goes into research of any single book. When I did the research for the 6th century, where several of the books take place, I had to go in and research clothing, the fabric, how it was made, what color it was, what was it made out of, what was this fabric, what the garments were worn by men and by women of different classes. I had to understand the history of where certain peoples were located. Who were the Scandinavian people? What were they called at that time? What was some languages that they spoke? I had to understand even the way they traveled. What were the say, shipping routes or the traveling routes by water, because a lot of the travel at that point was water travel. What was the relationship between what is now Scotland and England? What is the relationship between Scotland and, say, Norway? And just understand a lot of that political or historical stuff just to be able to tell the story of a small group of fictional people that I stick in an island. You have to keep some of your facts straight. I don't put all of that in the book, but I at least have to know it so that I can be as true to the history as possible. Another thing I had to do was to find the stats of a particular hockey game, when it was played, and who was actually playing that. So I thought that, and that had to fit in because when Jamie Poole lands in 1942, she has to be able to identify those names, figure out who they are, and then place herself and know exactly where she is in time based on a hockey game. One of my inspirations would be Mark Twain. Mark Twain says, write what you know. I enjoyed his books, and perhaps one of my favorites is A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. My name is Eleni Sutherland. I am an author and a genealogist and artist. I am an Army brat without the Army, and I have lived everywhere.